And one night, about 11 o'clock at night, I got a phone call. And there was an American accent, and he said, he was a social worker. He worked at a veterans hospital for retired servicemen. And at this hospital, he had my dad right beside him. He said, "Are you the son of Max Hooks?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I have your dad right beside me. Would you like to speak to him?" I said, "No, sorry." I said, "I'm sorry, I can't." I mean, what do you say to someone you haven't seen in 20 years? Who you basically never had a relationship anyway with? I couldn't speak to him. I just couldn't do it emotionally. I couldn't handle that. And so I hung up the phone, and it took me another day before I had, was able to kind of work up the courage to phone. And I spoke to my dad, and I talked about the weather, and I talked about how things were in England and this and that. Turns out he just looked in a directory inquiry. My name's in the phone book, if anyone wants to know. and he found my name in the phone book and phoned me. And over the months, I kind of would phone him maybe once a month and speak to him. And then eventually I went over to Florida, back home to Florida with my family. And I knew I should go out and see him. He was living in Texas. And so I flew out to Texas and went to the hospital where he was, in the nursing center. And I remember my dad as being big and scary. Big man. And there he was, this frail old man in a wheelchair, just broken. And you know what? My heart just went out to him. And for 3 days we sat and we talked and we talked and we talked. And I learned about his father. I learned about his background and his family, things I'd never known. Learned about his experiences in the war. And there was these words that he said to me that really began wholeness began to kind of be planted in my life. And these words were, "Bob, I'm sorry. Bob, I'm sorry." And that's all I really needed to hear. I was sorry. He was sorry. He regretted the things the way he treated me, the way I'd been neglected, because I was dealing with huge abandonment and rejection issues in my life. But to hear that brought a lot of healing. And I've come back to a God again and again and again, a God that's kind of pictured in the Bible in that story of the lost son, the prodigal son. Do you remember the picture of God there where you have the father who runs out to meet the son? The son has blown it. He's got it completely wrong. And yet he's got this speech kind of memorized in his mind that he's going to give his father, and the father doesn't want any of it. His father just embraces him and accepts him. Because of the issues in my life that I continue to deal with, I still come back to the Father who lovingly embraces me and welcomes me back again and again and again. So tonight, if you're feeling like you've blown it, and the enemy is whispering in your ear, you can't be a Christian. You've done this and that. Don't listen to him. He's the father of lies. But we have a loving, gracious, merciful Heavenly Father. And just remember, it's all about grace. It's all about grace. And I think there's people here that need to hear that, because we've been trying to be a Christian. We've been trying to get it right. And we've failed and we've failed and we've failed. But it's okay. Just keep coming back. Keep coming back to our loving Father. Okay, I'll just leave it there. Thank you.